Harry, good morning. How are you doing today?
Hey Camilo, good morning. Everything's well. Looking forward to discussing President Trump's executive orders and his speech from yesterday afternoon.
Excellent. So now we have a new president, but before we actually go into that, I can see Brickell behind you, and you can see Bogota.
That's right. We are at
I love that.
our offices. I'm here in the Brickell, Miami office, and you are at the Bogota, Colombia office.
That's right. So everyone, I am Camilo Espinosa, managing attorney at Loigica PA, co-founder of Loigica PA, and here with us is our CEO, Harry Tapias. Harry, can you introduce yourself a little bit so people can actually get to know you?
Yeah, I'm Harry Tapias, co-founder with Camilo Espinosa and CEO of Loigica. And we have been managing Loigica since about 2013. We have a big team of legal professionals that are present in the United States, Colombia, South America, and we also have a team in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So really proud that we can talk about what's happening in this hemisphere and how President Trump's executive orders and decisions will affect this part of the world and also the everyday immigration matters that we deal with.
That's excellent. So yeah, today we're going to analyze the impact of Trump's recent statements on immigration policies and the opportunities for investment visas in the US. So Harry, we're going to start with the energy emergency, and we're going to start in the impact on E2 visas, EB5 visas, and work visas. So as you know, we have Elon Musk as one of the main advisors of Trump. He has this amazing company, Tesla, other companies as well, that they are trying to revolutionize technology in the States. So what do you think so far? How is going to be the impact on E2 visas, EB5 visas, work visas in the energy sector, gas industry, in the petroleum industry? What do you think so far?
Okay, so far we see no negative effects on any of these investment visas or employment-based talent visas. That may come later in time, but certainly in the world of petroleum, President Trump said it better than anyone else, drill, baby, drill, which means that he will be inviting the further drilling into our reserves so that we can increase our supplies. So I suppose if there's a company that wants to invest in this sector coming from another country, you're more than welcome to grow the sector in our economy.
I actually seen EB5 projects in the energy sector, so that can actually open opportunities for foreign nationals to invest in these projects, right? Because I think that's, I mean, we know that lots of EB5s are actually in the residential sector or in basically building.
Right.
That's what they usually related. But I actually seen projects in the energy sector, so that can actually open the opportunities for foreign nationals to invest in EB5. What about E2 visas? I think I see a little harsh for an E2 visa, an investor to go and invest into energy. Do you see a correlation? Do you see that can be feasible for an E2 visa? And maybe explain what is an E2 visa, Harry.
Yeah, so let's start with an E2. An E2 visa is called an investor visa, and it is granted to nationals of countries that have a treaty with the United States. And among those countries are Colombia, Argentina, England, Spain. There's about 90 countries that can take advantage of this E2 investor visa. And it's usually given for 5 years. The whole goal is to invite an investor and his funds to come and open a business in the United States and start creating employment and essentially developing the economy. If a person, say he comes from Canada or comes from Argentina, wants to start an oil business, so long as he's actually investing in machinery and the tools necessary to build the infrastructure, that would qualify. He needs to make a substantial investment in his business. So I would presume that this person would need to purchase drills, trucks, barrels, but all being invested in the United States. So be careful about wanting to buy products from China or non-American locations, because that investment will not count towards your E2 visa.
Okay, that's amazing. You know what? Actually thinking about the development in the energy sector, imagine EB2 national interest waiver cases. So the EB2 national interest waiver, you can actually go and get a green card if you meet certain criteria. And there are four main factors, right? You have to have an advanced degree. In addition, you must have an endeavor that must have national importance and substantial merit. You must be able to advance this endeavor in the US. And on the balance of equities, in other words, I believe the positive factors are going to outweigh the negative factors.
That's right.
In this case, an endeavor that is related to the development in the energy sector. I think that maybe the Trump and this administration actually going to like this. Do you think?
Well, it certainly now President Trump will be passing on his directives to the Department of Homeland Security and USCIS. So as we saw in the past, where President Biden was actually pushing for AI and other high-tech technology in an actual presidential statement, we can take the same clues here, where President Trump is saying, hey, we all want to develop our oil industry, and then that engineers or persons with plans on how to do so with an EB2 national interest waiver can probably be more successful with such a endeavor.
I agree. And I believe that probably for EB2 national interest waiver candidates, this is a great idea, because I believe the artificial intelligence and the other technologies are actually going to continue, and there is going to be a priority for this government as well. But now the energy sector as well, not just, and I believe that that's going to be important for those endeavors, for those people who basically want to go and get a green card, and that's going to be a great opportunity for them. Now, what about H-1B visas? What is the opportunity? Because the little things that I read, basically, this government, and especially with Elon Musk, they want to kind of like encourage employers to go and look for these foreign nationals who are the best of the best, especially people who actually are in the STEM field, right? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. What do you think, Eric?
Well, all right. So certainly with H-1B is here to stay. And in fact, under the Biden administration, there were already improvements done to the lottery system to reduce the amount of abusive applicants, meaning where you would have one applicant for many companies. That's going to be substantially reduced now, and that will help a lot. Now, with this administration saying, yes, H-1B is important for the economy, I think that in order to be successful on H-1B, the way you need to acquire H-1B is by going to U.S. universities, being in the environment of getting hired by companies through your university, and then you'll find those great jobs. I don't see it viable or easy for people who have studied outside of the United States trying to get jobs inside the United States. Really, they need to make that sacrifice, get the F1 student visa, enter a university, find an employer through the OPT program, optional practical training, or the CPT program, and then you'll get your H-1B. That's a path to success, and I don't see that changing.
I agree. I actually seen many companies in the energy sector, telecommunications industry as well, especially petition for foreign nationals for H-1B and O-1s as well. So I believe that this can be a perfect opportunity, perfect time to consider investing in the U.S. energy sector in case you want to apply for an E2 visa or you want to invest into an EB5 project. But at the same time, it can be an opportunity if you are an employee and maybe you want to work in the States. In the United States, you have the capacity to do so, you have the credentials to do so, and you may be able to be hired by one of those companies, one of those big companies. All right, so let's talk now about the border.
Yes.
Lots of executive action happening, and I know that there is going to be more immigration control, lots of information as well. And I know that you sent me previously a link.
Yeah.
Can you explain to us what you've seen so far? And you also read, what is the name of this bill that you read? Like the 900-page bill?
Yeah, it's called the Project 2025 for the next conservative president, written in 2023. Yeah.
So now this is into action, and you're going to start. I assume that many of the things that you read, Harry, because I know that you were the only one in the office that actually read and studied the whole bill.
Right.
We've seen it. And
yeah, we're seeing Project 2025 now. We're seeing Project 2025 come into fruition, and we can see it immediately with matters on the immigration and the border. Specifically, now with essentially what we have is bar on asylum for people who were not able to claim asylum yesterday, or actually the day before yesterday. So what we know right now is that the application developed by President Biden called CBP-1 has now been shut off, which was a means for those seeking refuge or seeking asylum to be able to get into the system and enter lawfully, but essentially acquire asylum. That has now been shut down, and there are people at the border now, of course, in dire straits, wishing to have entered sooner. But that may be a good way to start organizing the system again, and we hope that there is at least some reprieve later on. But right now, it's shut down. And then we also see now the installation of potentially the stay in place policy. Camilo, do you want to mention something?
Yeah, basically that. Yeah, before we actually get into asylum, that we have a section. Let's talk also because there are going to be changes in the H-1B, in the L1 visas that most likely that's going to have an impact on employment visas, right? So H-1Bs, L1s, I will assume EB1s, EB2s, EB3s, but I believe that having some sort of control or trying to make the immigration system better is good for immigration attorneys, is good for the immigration system, and is good for foreign nationals as well who wanna do the right thing, who wanna come and who actually qualify. So I don't think that by itself is something negative. I believe that this government, is gonna prioritize visas like E2 visas, like EB5s, especially in projects like infrastructure and the energy sector as well. So I believe this is going to create opportunities for those people investing in those sectors, which are very important especially for this administration. So now let's go, before we go into the asylum, there is something that is very controversial. And unlawful people, and pay attention, unlawful people who are here in the States, who are in the States because I'm actually in Colombia today, and who basically have children.
Yeah.
This administration, Trump, is going to say, no, you cannot go and get a green card. Actually, you can't be a U.S. citizen, right? So that's going to be problematic. And so far, the information that I know and the research that I've done is that they are trying to play with this 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, in which they are saying that unlawful people, basically, they are not subject to the U.S. jurisdiction. So as a result, they can now be U.S. citizens.
Right.
We anticipate that this is going to be challenged and that most likely the Supreme Court has to decide. However, there is common law basically stating from more than 100 years saying that that's going to be very hard for this government to actually to approve it. So what are your thoughts?
All right, so I read the executive order regarding birthright citizenship, and of course it just came out yesterday. And what it's saying is that children who are born at 30 days after the executive order, who do not have a permanent resident parent or U.S. citizen father, right? Born to someone who is on the United States, like an ESTA, for example, which is a visa waiver, or in some other non-status status, right, will not be given U.S. citizenship. And you're absolutely right in regard to that. This is going to be an uphill battle because another law firm, a lawsuit was already filed against that within hours. So that goes to the 14th Amendment, but also the executive order goes into great detail explaining why the interpretation of the amendment, 14th Amendment, has been misunderstood. So it makes a good argument, but also it does make a good argument that perhaps people who are here born because their parents showed up doesn't necessarily give them rights.
Listen, something that I read and that I kind of agree with this, with some people that are talking about the current administration and 8 years ago, is that it seems that those executive orders related to immigration, they actually are very well prepared.
Yeah.
And even if they're going to be challenged in federal court, it seems that some of them actually are gonna be good. They're gonna actually pass because we saw like 8 years ago, like basically like including EB5, I believe. EB5, I mean, it was done the wrong way, and I believe this administration kind of like learned from it, and I believe that they actually put lots of legal arguments, valid legal arguments, and that's going to be very interesting. What's going to happen within the next 6-8 months as to this, whether there is going to be an injunction or not. That most likely there is going to be until actually this can actually be resolved. So we know that this is going to be controversial. If you are unlawful in the U.S., you don't have any U.S. resident parents or U.S. citizen parents, unfortunately, you can not be a U.S. citizen. So that's going to affect a lot of people.
Certainly, and I can only think that maybe if a person is here on ESTA, visa waiver, or some other, or maybe as a tourist potentially, and maybe she wasn't planning to have a baby, maybe this will cause some people to want to induce an early birth right now, especially because they have 30 days in which this rule doesn't come into fruition. So I wonder how people are going to behave now, right? Are they going to go see a doctor to try to maybe induce an earlier birth? It's kind of scary, but at the same time, this also makes us think about, has the United States been complacent, or has the United States been too generous in the way that it's been issuing citizenship? And it is a good question to at least discuss, but I certainly don't want anyone's rights to be taken away.
I agree. Hey, Harry, let's finish with asylum. So we have this law in which stay in Mexico, right? You got to remain in Mexico. So because asylum, usually you have to be in the U.S. In order to apply. Now, what they're saying is you stay in Mexico, and they are kind of like shutting down asylum applications so far as we know, right? So what's happening? And I believe like thousands of people are going to be affected. Unfortunately, some people who have valid claims are going to be affected. And but yeah, this is something that we knew that this was going to happen. This was actually in the 2025 bill as well. This was in Trump's actually presidential campaign. And now we have all these executive orders.
So I would say that for now, what I would say is that those who have an asylum claim and they're already in the United States, they're not immediately affected. It's the people who wanted to file an asylum claim yesterday and moving forward are now affected. However, I do see that this is just the beginning. This is just the first attempt to really abrogate and reduce the asylum system. So it's sort of like a slippery slope. This is just the beginning, and it's going to go down to the actual asylum cases. So I do foresee that asylum cases, that whether they're legitimate or they're in between a legitimate and fraudulent, that they're probably going to fail. So, but we've been seeing this already happening even during the Biden administration, where approximately 80% of cases are anyway. So it's not like the system's been friendly. The problem that the United States and the people of the United States have had with the asylum system is the amount of people who are permitted to enter and then can remain here working, waiting for this asylum process. But what the American people and Trump essentially, what in representation is doing, is saying, hey, no more people entering in this manner. We're going to get this organized. So I do see, however, the people who are in the asylum right now from the last few years, they're probably in less stable situation even than what they had before during Biden.
I agree. So guys, the most important part is we need to emphasize that there are legal options that you can actually come to the US. Not everything is negative per se. I believe that many of the things that Trump actually wants to implement are actually great for legal immigration, for employers, for investors, for people who want to come legally and do the right thing in the States. And I think that's very important. I believe that Trump, his administration, all his advisors, basically, especially with Elon Musk and all the other tech giants that are behind Trump, are saying, hey, do the right thing. If you're someone who basically have a master's, have doctorates, highly educated individual, that want to succeed, an entrepreneur, investor who want to actually invest in these strategic sectors of the American economy, we want you here because that's part of make America great again. And so don't be afraid. Do the right thing, invest in an E2 visa, EB5, EB2 national interest waiver, EB1s, green card family petitions, and so on if you have an opportunity, because I believe that there are great opportunities in this great economy as well, great country as the United States of America, so people can actually have a future for themselves and their families. Harry, how do you want to finish this webinar? Let's say something positive for our clients, for our friends, for the people who are going to be viewing this video.
Okay, I would say yes. I would say that certainly change is difficult, and trying to adjust as new information keeps coming is difficult. However, looking at the broad picture here is that the United States is open for business. That with the guidance of these tech giants, that the employment-based immigration system will probably continue to run, and hopefully even more efficiently. So I would say that so long as you're focused on how do I build a great career in the United States, how do I contribute to the United States, if you're focused on that on that mentality, you will be successful in the United States. Build yourself, build your career, build your company, and there will be a visa for you.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you, Camilo.
Harry.